Hello, everyone. Welcome to our reboot of the podcast, Philandrony. It's been a little bit. We started in the summer and took a little break, but we are on track again, recording some of these episodes and sharing stories from people out there in the philanthropy world who are doing great things. We have with us today two of our Western Michigan University physical therapy students, Matthew Corrado and Juliana Roller. They are with us to talk about their project that they did as part of a Solstice scholarship that was completed, where they worked with the folks at the Great Lakes Burn Camp for kids. So welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Rodney.
So I'm so glad you're here and able to do this. Um, and we're going to be just talking about your story, talking about Stolz's scholarship, some of what goes into that, some of the background, and just how you got involved in this and some of the things you were able to do because it was an amazing project. So just to start off, if you can share a little bit about yourselves, your background, and just your interest in this project.
Do you want to go first, Juliana, or should I?
Either way, so I think basically when we had heard about the Solstice Scholarship from Steve, Matt and I both knew that we wanted to kind of look more into this opportunity that he presented us with. And so in kind of brainstorming what we wanted to do and everything like that, we kind of like came to the common agreement of community. Um, we've been impacted by so many different communities since we've been at Western and in the PT program. The faculty at Western present or promotes community within our cohort and program. And then Matt and I were able to start a CrossFit group at like a local gym called Gnarly Fit. And we started that probably almost a year ago. And so we were welcomed into that community. And then we were also able to start with Burn Camp in our first year of PT school. We were able to volunteer for a day and kind of put on an event for them, and really get to see their community and the good things that they're promoting. So I think that community was basically the center of our project, and we both agreed upon that. So it just made sense for us to work together on our project. But yeah, we were just really inspired by all the different communities that we have been a part of.
And if we can just talk about, the Stolze Scholarship itself and Steve Leopard, I know he came and did completed a presentation with all of you, correct?
Yep.
If you can just talk a little bit about that, how he introduced the organization and just some of what goes into that.
Yeah, so I can talk about that because I was Steve's student for a rotation, so I got to see all the details and the behind the scenes a little bit. The scholarship started as when Steve was a young PT and he had a patient by the name of Josh who has cerebral palsy. And Steve was working with Josh. They were making great progress. And then insurance was kind of being jerks to Josh and not paying for some of his treatments. So Steve has always been a go-getter. He was a college, track athlete, ran the 800. Him and I believe it was a student of his at the time, Brandon, said they wanted to do a canoe marathon, and so they were going to raise money, doing this canoe race of the Osable River, up in Grayling, where it's like 126 miles. They go for 16 hours through the night, and they were raising money to help Josh. So they raised the money, did the canoe marathon, raised the money to help Josh, and they were really impacted by how much community support they got with that. And it kind of inspired them as they were up in northern Michigan, Steve and Brandon, other people, and they were just brainstorming ideas of how do they get this feeling, and give this sense of opportunity for other PT students kind of in the area. So they started the Solstice Scholarship. They started it at Grand Valley, and Now it's fully funded so that every year they can give $500 to students at Grand Valley, students at Western, students at a U of M Flint, and I believe they're working on Central, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Um, to give students opportunities to make a difference in their communities. So that's kind of where it started, and it's grown. So we were fortunate enough to be the second recipients of the Solstice Scholarship at Western, and hopefully it keeps on growing and doing impactful things in the community.
And just with the word scholarship, you there's some money involved, but they're essentially funding a project you come up with, some community service project, correct? So that's
Yeah.
the whole idea of the scholarship and the whole program.
Yeah, so none of the money like goes directly to us. We get $500 to put on an event. Well, we get the $500 to donate to a charity of our choosing. But then with that, you're also able to put on an event to hopefully like raise more money for your cause. So that's why Matt and I chose Gnarly Fit for that. Um, so we were able to raise more money on top of the 500 that Steve had started us off with, so that basically you can just maximize your donation to whatever charity you choose.
Okay. And that's it's an amazing concept, just coming up with that idea, something that you want to do in the community and just empowering you to go ahead and run that project and all the things that go into it. So, you kind of have this base, Steve who has this idea where he's generating this project. But then if you could just talk some about, you talk some about Burn Camp, but just all the things that went into getting this together to make this event happen. So you want to do something for Burn Camp, right? So if you can just talk some about just the planning that went into it, and everything that you did to help make this happen. Because there's a lot that goes into it, right? It's an amazing idea, but then all the details that go into making this run forward.
Yeah, it was definitely it snowballed into a lot more work than I think Juliana and I thought it was going to be at first. But that was partly due to like the enthusiasm of Jesse and Rachel at Gnarly Fit, and we had a good um the first recipient, Chloe, she did an amazing job and kind of gave us a little bit of an outline of how we wanted to do things. And we definitely talked to her about reaching out to businesses for donations for raffles. So that was a big portion of it. Obviously connecting with Gnarly Fit, with the owners, setting up a plan, setting up a date. What's the event going to look like? What's the structure going to look like? How many people are showing up? How do we setting up the registration and creating flyers and posting them everywhere so that people uh, can't not see what we're doing. Setting up how are we going to handle donations? Um, and it was a lot of work, but it was 100% worth it. We had a great event, and Juliana, you can kind of talk about like some of the challenges we faced going with everything we had to do on top of being in PT school while all this is going on.
Yeah, I think Matt said it perfectly. Um it kind of snowballed into something bigger than we thought, but then when we had our event and it was completed successfully, I think it made it even more special just because we knew of like the hard work that went into putting it on and like all of the stuff that we did behind the scenes. So I think that was special for us. But yeah, basically like Matt said, first, we had to reach out to Burn Camp and see if partnering with them would be a possibility and what that looked like. So we were able to talk with Sarah Langle from Burn Camp. She's the fundraising coordinator. Um, and she helped us a lot with kind of like giving all of her support. She offered her logo and just answered any questions that we had about creating that partnership with them. Um, and then, like Matt said, for our event, we had the idea of partnering with Gnarly Fit because that was a community that Matt and I were both a part of. And so we reached out to Jesse and Rachel De Laverne, who are the owners there, and they were amazing. Like their support was unexpected and awesome. It was great. They offered to make like t-shirts for us. For our event that we could sell to increase our donation to Burn Camp. And they obviously offered up their gym for us for the day of the event. And they were amazing about taking care of all of the workout stuff like that, since that isn't really our area of specialty. So he came up with the whole workout and put it all on for us. And then who else did we worked with Steve a lot too. Steve was really helpful throughout the process. We were just able to ask him questions and stuff as we had them come up with the donations and how to collect certain things. But yeah, we also talked to Chloe. Like Matt said, she was a second year in our program. Now she's graduated and on, but she was really helpful too. She kind of had the idea of doing like a pre-event fundraiser. I think she did Penny Wars, which Matt and we were like, that was such a good idea to kind of get the students involved and everything like that. So we decided, a big thing in our cohort is ping pong. And so one of our classmates had brought in like a ping pong racket and everything. And we were like, what's better than doing a little ping pong tournament? So we did that and we did like $5 to enter, made a whole bracket and stuff like that. And we were surprised by the turnout from our classmates. We know that money is short for us all. So we were really grateful for our classmates to participate and be involved and stuff like that. But overall, I think we were just like, the reason it snowballed is because everybody kind of saw what we were doing, thanks to Steve, and just wanted to jump in all the way and support us and support the Solstice Scholarship and Burn Camp and everything like that. So yeah, it was really cool.
And thank you for that kind of that overview and that summary. And I will say that the flyers were very, very well done. Um, they were put around in a way that they drew a lot of attention to the event. So you all did a really good job with the flyers and just making sure that people knew about what was happening. And the day itself, we talked about about the planning that went into it, all the contacts, all the, just PR getting the word out. But the day itself, just having been there, it was amazing to see all the people that came, right? Just everything that went into that day, in some of that. So if you can talk about that, just how that day kind of evolved and played out with the planning and everything that went into that, just the actual event itself, because it went, from what I saw, really well.
Yeah, I think before the event we had like a sign up sheet and everything like that. And we set a deadline for our classmates and um everything like that but at the gym they didn't set a deadline or anything. So I think Matt and I were kind of caught up in the behind the scenes stuff. So we didn't really realize like how many people had actually signed up and like how many participants we were actually gonna have. So the day of the event when like people started coming in and everything like that, it was crazy. We were both like, oh my gosh, this is insane to have this many people here. We had to have two heats of the workout, one in the morning and then one in the later morning, just because we had so many participants. And it was cool too because we had a lot of faculty support from Western in the PT program. Even if some of the faculty couldn't make it, they still sent their wishes and everything like that and donated to us. And so the faculty was just so generous. And I think that also was pretty cool for Matt and I to see just like the support that they had for us there too. So we had the Western faculty, we had a bunch of the people from the Gnarly Fit gym that we do Saturday morning classes with. And then Jesse and Rachel also promoted the event on their social media. So I know that in just kind of talking with some of the people that were at the event, we had some that had like never been to Gnarly Fit before. So it was cool that it reached people that hadn't ever been to that or anything. So it was just amazing to see that. But Matt, you can talk a little bit more about the event too.
Yeah, and it was obviously a tremendous thank you. We can't say thank you enough to Jesse and Rachel, the owners of Gnarly Fit. They were played a huge role in the actual logistics of how the day went, planning the workouts in a way that's approachable and fun for all different levels of skill, setting up the space in a way for people who want to just hang out and support, but maybe didn't want to participate in the workout itself to be there. the way it was structured. They've held events at Gnarly Fit before, so they had a little bit of experience of how it was to go. So that helped us a ton in the day-to-day operations of how to set up the event. We relied heavily on them and their input. Uh, and it was a great collaboration. They would always ask us for feedback, and we'd bounce ideas back and forth for a couple weeks. Um, but in terms of like the actual day and the support and them having a videographer there to video everything and take pictures, there's a YouTube video out there that's incredible. It's beyond the quality is just so amazing. All that support was just a huge credit to Jesse and Rachel. It was incredible.
It was. You could just feel all the positive energy, and everyone was excited. Everyone, there was a lot of buy-in. It was just a really awesome event. And people worked out, right? That's the other thing is like just to watch the workouts. And I freely admit that I was not one of the brave ones to go ahead and join in the workout, but people were fully engaged in you know, in the workout that was happening. There were a lot of people that were sweating. So that was something to see too.
Yeah,
Well,
that was cool to see everybody just kind of come together. We did a group workout, so it was teams of five. So that was cool to see everybody's team like working together. Everybody was just cheering each other on. And the workout was difficult.
It looked legit for sure. Absolutely.
It was, but so it was cool to see everybody in their teams. We had a couple faculty members. Steve worked out, but they had a good sweat going.
it was great to see, just the way it was orchestrated with the planning, with like you said, the teams, just everyone working together. And I believe Chad Hagman was there, correct, from Burn Camp. So, he was able to witness and participate and be a part of the event also.
Yeah, that was amazing. When we were talking with Sarah about um Camp's involvement in the event and everything like that, Chad graciously offered his time to us, and he was able to give like a little speech in the middle of the two heats, just saying what Burn Camp is all about, what they do for the campers around Michigan, and how they kind of give back to that community. And so we were really grateful to have him there and to have him open to giving a little speech and have his support just at the event. It was really cool.
And that, it helps to, make that connection. Just how do you anticipate some of your efforts impacting Burn Camp and some of the participants? Can you talk a little bit about that? Just what the funds will be used for?
yeah, so Burn Camp, it costs uh, all the kids that attend Burn Camp, it's at no cost to them. They are funded by sponsors. So the money is going to be going towards sponsoring these kids to attend Burn Camp, which is where they have a winter camp and a summer camp, but it's a chance for kids who have survived burns to just be amongst their peers, to be amongst themselves, to feel comfortable in their skin, and to just be kids. There's a lot of times, as we know, middle school and elementary school and high school, kids can be mean, especially if there's something different about you. So just the chance to be amongst your peers, to be a kid again, to be uh, just do fun things and let loose and not have to disguise yourself. So kids get a chance to go for a week in the summer to, do normal camp activities. Burn Camp also has scholarships for kids for college. And they also always need, different adaptive equipment and all sorts of things. So the money's going towards, making sure that all these kids have as many opportunities as they can while at camp.
And that's awesome. Just kudos to both of you for the idea, for just everything it took to get this in place with reaching out to people, and that's the amazing thing, just in hearing you talk about it, is just all the different people that are involved with Burn Camp, with Steve, and the coordination with the gym, just all the pieces that went into making this happen and ultimately having a positive impact. So kudos to both of you. Any final thoughts just to kind of wrap everything up and summarize just things that you got out of it or things that you learned or things you'd like to share?
I think just a huge thank you to Steve, Leopard, and Brandon. Um, Without them, this wouldn't have been possible at all. Just because we're two PT students. Going through school and everything like that, but they gave us the opportunity to kind of branch out to the community and give back while we're students. So I think that was just really cool, and we just thank you to them for inspiring us to be active in the community and give back. And then obviously too, thank you to Jesse and Rachel at Gnarly Fit, the Burn Camp people, and just our cohorts at Western and our faculty and everything like that.
All right. Well, thanks to both of you for coming on to the podcast today, talking about your projects, sharing your story, and we'll be continuing on with this podcast. We'll have Steve on at some point, hopefully soon, so I'll be reaching out to him. But thank you so much to both of you for your time, and thank you to all of you for listening to this episode of Philandrony. Thank you.